Hello, this is me, JG Janesad, and I thought I'd do a very quick video on my main digital SLR. It's a Canon EOS 1D Mark III, and this kind of camera is a pro spec one. It's not new, it's second hand. The shutter release on the corner doesn't work properly, and they've only got one main AF lens on it. It doesn't do video, it's 10 years old. It's a pro spec model, it's metal, very, very heavy. It's about a kilogram, and it's got all this fancy stuff on it. It's a Mark III, 10 megapixels, very nice quality. I've got the thing on the back there, I'll turn that off. It's just an overview. I'm not an expert on anything necessarily. I've been in photography for a long time, into it for quite a long time, and it's just like this is a pro spec model, and basically what you've got is, there are no subject modes on this, like sort of beach and skiing and nighttime and whatever. It's a pro spec model. There's nothing on it that's consumer friendly necessarily. It's got a million settings on it. So basically what you've got is just top plate. It just shows you your information. This is from the film era. They had a thing with else. You press the button and it lights it up. And it tells you your shutter speed, aperture, metering mode, how many frames on the card, battery mode, that kind of thing, battery level. Rear display tells you your information. It repeats what was on the top of the camera. It's basically just shutter speed, aperture, that's my aperture, and that's my shutter speed. And then you've got a number of buttons at the bottom here where it says function, and you can change your, as it's the pro model, so you've got all your main stuff that you need at your fingertips, like the size of the frame that you want to record in terms of the quality, and you've got RAW. If you're going to take pictures for a living, you'd use RAW. You wouldn't bother using JPEG. This is JPEG, which I don't have the right software to do anything with RAW. I don't have the right software for that. But JPEG, you take a picture, you take it off the SD card, you put it on your computer, and practically any paint program, photographic program will work with it. And then we can look at the, very quickly look at the menu. As a zillion, I'll turn this light off. You turn the little wheel here and then you can go, or zoom in. And this has got a zillion things. You've got all your main stuff, your format that you just shoot in, white balance. You got a little joystick, like a little 4-way button thing, and you can just go across. You've got your JPEG, protect the images. You've got histogram. I don't really use histogram. What else have we got? It's power off, all the main power stuff. LCD brightness, date, time, region. There's no geo positioning on this at all, which I'm glad, because it would give away where I live. And you've got this scary looking stuff. You've got, like, say that you want to look at exposure, and then you've got, see at the bottom there's like 1 through 15, and if you go through them there's like sub menus of a million customizable stuff, which again it's a pro model, so you can customize practically every single aspect of it. Whereas if you go down the range to sort of mid-range and budget, you won't get half as much stuff as this. And you know, you can change the way it works, and if you fiddle with it and get it wrong, it won't work the way you expect it to, and it will do strange things. So it's all this going on, like a million settings, but it's a pro model, so that's what you're paying for. These were very expensive when they were new, like £5,000, $6,000. Very, very expensive system cameras. But I was a Nikon fanboy years ago, but having got one of these, I love this camera. It's just really nice. No, so you've got basically settings there, and then so that's basically the main camera there. What else have we got? Take it off of that. And what you can do is when you take a picture, you press the play button at the corner. I'll take pictures of my Jane thing in the dark, and I've got a video which I'm going to upload after this one, which I did yesterday. I'm redoing this main video again. If you put the light on, I did a bunch of shooting pictures in the dark. I've got a flash gun, which I'll show in a minute. You turn your wheel and you can go through the, you set this wheel here, you go through the thing there, and you can basically zoom in with little buttons at the corner there. plus and minus, and you can zoom in. Oops. And then you've got like the little toggle joystick thing which is next to the thing there, and you can sort of zoom in. Okay. So yeah, there's no subject modes whatsoever, but what you've got is, turn that off again. Press the mode button and you can turn the thing and you get manual, shutter priority, B setting which is long exposures, star trails, program which the camera does it all, and then AV which is aperture priority. Back to manual. A manual is pretty simple stuff. You just have a aperture is the wheel there, and the shutter is this wheel here. And in the viewfinder, I don't know if we can see this. Bring it up. There we are. You can just about make that out. There's the display, which at the side you can't really see there. There's a side bit that would show where the exposure is. It's like a scale on the side. The camera's trying to focus. And then you just get your shutter speed, aperture, mode, metering mode, battery information, how many frames left on the card, that's what that is. And then I don't know if you can see, there's like, you probably can't see it, there's like a little red rectangle that comes on in the middle. You can't really see it there. Well, oh, there it is, there it is. See, that's a little square there. If I can zoom in a little bit nearer. And it'll go beep beep when it finds the focus, but it's too near, so I can't really do that. And it would basically flash and it would beep. Can't see that very well, but because what happens with this, I had to customise this because it would basically flash 30 odd squares across the viewfinder, and it would beep. And I thought I only want one in the middle because it's just simpler. I normally just work with still life, occasional landscape, not a lot. I'm not going to be doing, that's for if you're doing like rugby players, footballers, Formula 1, sports cars, people, boxers, that kind of thing, real close quarter stuff. I don't do stuff like that, but this camera's built to do that. So that's basically the camera. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn it off, because I want to show you, there's the, I'm going to peel the bloody thing. If you know anything about SLRs, you can usually take the lens off, which I'm zoomed into here. And with this camera, you can take the lens off and you can put a different lens on. Like, say if you wanted a small zoom, and let's say you wanted to go to a big telephoto lens or a really wide angle, you can go buy another lens that will fit on the Canon EF lens mount, and then. But if you go to Canon, they're very expensive. There's other makes like Tamron and Sigma, Tokina. They make lenses that fit on these cameras for a bit less money, but they're not too bad quality. But the Canon ones are probably the nicest because they're meant to go on this camera. But with Canon, you can put a different lens from a completely different make of camera, like Nikon or Pentax or the Minolta's manual. And with these, you can get like a metal converter ring without a glass correction lens in it, because Nikon you can do this, but you have to have a correction lens, and it's not really worth doing with Nikon. They've got so many lenses, you'd probably best stick, if you're going to use it, if you're going to do Nikon, you'd stick with their manual lenses or their AF lenses from their film era. Whereas with Canon there is no manual version because they got rid of their FD mount in the mid 80s, about 87. So you can put manual lenses from completely different makes on it and the metering still works, and that's brilliant, because Nikon, who I used to be totally into, they're not going to do that without a correction lens, and as far as I know, unless it's a pro model or semi-pro model, you can't get any metering with manual lenses. But this will work with most of the evaluative metering, the multi-segment. That's brilliant, so I'm really pleased about that. And what I've got is, I will take the lens off actually, this lens here. This is a very old Olympus make lens made in Japan. It's about 30 years old, and it's meant for an Olympus camera, manual focus Olympus camera, and it's an old two-touch. It's fairly cheap, and I wanted it because it does macro, which is really close up like this far from the camera. So I want to take some picture of, say, that this plastic pumpkin thing. This one won't do it because it needs about half a metre, but I can get within about 6 inches with this lens. And I can't afford to get a Canon lens that will do that. So I got this old second-hand lens, bought a converter mount for it, and you can put it onto this model on this thing. So we turned it off. It is off. Make sure it's off, because you'll damage the camera if you don't. Press the button. Turn it counterclockwise. There's the back of the thing there. This camera doesn't use APS-C sensors, which is smaller than full frame, but it's just one down from full frame. There's the inside of the mount, the big EF mount. Gotta be a bit careful with this because the dot to mount it is for the original Olympus. So this when you put this lens on this converter, you use this dot here, but for the Canon mount you've got to use the dot that's there, and then you get that lined up with. I get mixed up, I don't want to damage it. I'm peering over this bloody thing here. I don't like doing this when it's... There it is. Some of these converter mounts don't have locking pins. I think there's a Pentax one that doesn't have a locking pin, meaning when you put a lens on, this is a bayonet mount, there's like a little pin and it sticks out under a spring, and then you turn it and it clicks and it doesn't come off. And some of these converter mounts do not have a locking pin. They have a screw that sticks into the side of the mount, and it causes a line to be cut into the metal of the lens. And it's nasty, and it basically can fall off if you're using it. So get one with a locking pin. This Olympus ones do seem to have a locking pin, and I've seen some Nikon ones that do, but not all of them do. So if you're going to do a converter mount, get one with a locking pin for the lens that you're putting on, because it'll almost always fall off if it's just a screw. What you can do here is it will work actually with this lens. You don't get any AF, of course, but it will give metering. Let me turn it back on again. Turn it back on. And the camera is very happy to deal with this this craziness, I know, because you've got... It doesn't give you any aperture information necessarily, because the aperture is not... There's no processors in this lens. When you take a picture with it, if I can show it, I might be able to show it actually. Will it give me a focus confirmation? Oh, there it is, you can see it there. I'll be out with that. Sometimes it doesn't see it very well because of the contrast is a little... It's doing it there. It would normally beep if I did manual. They're doing it now.